All right, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Have any of you guys ever heard of business value mapping? Business value mapping is a strategy by where you take a look at your product and you categorically compartmentalize your product into individual components, and you assess the value of each one of those said components. In this case today, we're going to be looking at the human body and essentially coming up with what the value map would be for developing and building a humanoid robot replacement, or a clone, if you will. All right, so this is humanoid robot value mapping. All right, so this was a very extensive research paper that was just conducted, I want to say earlier this year, and I believe it was done by Cambridge University as well as MIT. And they essentially went through some of the top companies that are leading the forefront in robotics and movement and physics and a bunch of other areas as well. But we're going to dive right into it today by kind of going through and making sure that we understand just kind of some of the parts that make us human. So just starting off first, simple humanoid diagram, right? Right, you got your head, knees, feet, shoulders, toes, hands and toes, all that good stuff, right? But when we think about business value mapping, you have to look at each thing as an actual category, right? And so right now, we're looking at environmental inputs, we're looking at our sensors, our brains, and our movements. So if you look at the diagram over to the left, you'll notice that the humanoid here, right, the sensors and brains are up here, but there will also be some sensors and some actuators as well around here, like you see the S there as well. So just keep that in mind as we kind of go through this. Your body, as it behaves, right? There are several mechanisms that allow us to do a myriad of things, right? But when we think about how do we smell, right? That is a sense, and those things are all picked up by our sensors, right? And so those things have to run through the brain, and based on our reaction from the brain may tell the actuators, which are like the levers and pulleys in our arms and so forth, to move and to do things, right? And so that creates the linear movement, that creates rotational movement, and that's essentially what we are seeing here with this diagram, right? Now, a little bit more complex, let's jump into the brain function. So when we talk about the brain function and you think about a robot's brain, it's not going to be exactly like our brain, of course, right? In fact, we don't even know how our brains work. I think it's a very complex, diverse system. I don't think anybody understands. But anyway, talking about the brain here, right? You're going to have a couple of different components. You're going to have your semiconductor, and you're going to have your software division, right? Now, your software side, that's where you get your foundational autonomous models, your data science analytics, your stimulation, your vision. Those are all coming through your software inputs. And your semiconductor inputs would be more so the things that actually process those things that the software is receiving, right? So if you think about the semiconductor inside of your computer and how that works, it's very similar concept here. So the semis here essentially, they retain the information, or I'm sorry, they process the information, and they make decisions on that information based on what they're seeing, right? And this is called the semi development. And this is where we talk about the designers and the fabrication, and just sort of how that breakout goes. I really love this slide. So this slide basically looks at the individual cost per part, and this is assuming, of course, that you're going with some of the leading companies, in some of these fields, right? So when you talk about actuators and actuator parts, you're talking about motors, encoders, rare earths, magnets, gears, reducers, force and torque, camera and vision sensors, radar and lidar, batteries, bearings, screws, right? All of these things are really, really critical when building your robot, and these are the companies that are leading the forefront in those spaces, right? And so if you were to build and put together your perfect humanoid, you have to think about it: brain, body, Only one thing missing, right? Think about it. So here, as we look at this, we're looking at the brain, the body, and the integrators, right? And when we talk about integrators, these are the folks that are building the hardware that allows the brain and the body to work together seamlessly. So folks like Tesla, Hitachi, Amazon, Sony, Toyota, these folks are leading the way. Honda as well. These guys are really leading the way in terms of building out robots. Unitree, Boston Dynamics, just to name a few of the big major key players. I can see my old company, Moog, is actually listed here as well. But yeah, guys, this is it. So just really cool stuff. But hope you guys like the video. Definitely going to be some more stuff coming out soon. So make sure you share, like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you.